Hello and welcome to Concert Pipeline. I'm Steve Jones. Today on the program, we have an interview with a band called Megafauna. I had a chance to interview the lead singer of Megafauna, Dani. We had a really great chat. We got into a lot of layers. I mean, we talked about Austin culture a lot and the food and the great things there, and my memories of the times that I've been to Austin and really connected there, as well as on levels with a lot of different music that she was into growing up, and that kind of there was some overlap with connections that I had with music as well. It was a really fun chat, and we're going to get to talk to Dani in just a little bit. Before we do, I want to get into a concert that I went to this weekend, actually. John Mellencamp was playing at the Golden Gate Theater in San Francisco. Two shows on March 17th and March 18th. I went to the March 18th show. Did not celebrate St. Paddy's with John Mellencamp, but it was really cool. It's been a little while since I've been to a concert, honestly. Again, these Zoom interviews have been spoiling me. So I haven't been to that many, and I don't know that I've been to a concert this year yet. So getting out of my comfort zone of staying in the house and going out and having a late night in the city was enjoyable. So I want to talk about that concert first. Been a while since I've been into San Francisco as well. I don't know that I've been there since my last concert that I went to, which is commemorated behind me, Andrew McMahon, and that was in November with my buddies Joe and Jackie. And I drove into San Francisco and was driving around the Tenderloin, and it's just sad, really. The state of things in San Francisco, the smell of piss, the number of homeless people wandering around aimlessly in the middle of the road and laying in doorways under blankets, and you wish there was something you could do to help, but you realize this is such a bigger issue than something that you could tackle as one person, but you feel sad for those folks, right? So that's San Francisco, and that's how I felt about the city. But pulling up to the Golden Gate Theater was great. I don't know if I've been to a show at the Golden Gate Theater. It's right next door. It's like 3 doors down from the Warfield, which I've seen many a show at, and been to a lot of great shows at the Warfield. But the actual theater, I don't know that I've been there. And so I went to the show, and there was something that was interesting. John had an interesting way of starting his shows out. And I sat down and talked to these two sisters from Reading, these ladies, and kind of let them know, hey, he's going to start with a 30-minute video and then get into the show. So there was no opener, which on one hand, I'm like, okay, cool. It means I'll be able to get out of here sooner, hit the road and get back home. But on the other hand, starting with a 30-minute video, black and white movies from the 50s and early 60s is not a very exciting way to start a show, I'd say. I don't understand the point of it, other than they're movies that are really personal to John Mellencamp, and like Grapes of Wrath and some other movies like that. So there were just clips from the movies, and it was interesting. I don't turn on black and white movies really, so it's not something I get as part of my build, but it was an interesting way to start. And then the show started, and John came out, and he played John Cockers was the song that he opened with. So I want to play a little clip of the opening track from John Mellencamp's show at the Golden Gate Theater. So here is John Cockers. Was John Cockers by John Mellencamp on Concert Pipeline. And so we're going to work through some of the other stories of what was interesting to me about the show and what I found cool and unique. John did a 20-song set, so it was a pretty heavy set, about almost 2 hours, all in. And he just rolled through the songs, and he had a great band along with him to help support. Like, he had a violinist and an accordion, and they brought out the piano, and a great solid band. And you can tell that this is someone who's been doing this for a while and has kind of honed his craft and has a way that he enjoys making music and just getting out and sharing it with his fans. And so they rolled through a number of songs. Of course, they played hits, but they, as John told the audience, we're going to play some songs that you'll know. We're going to play some songs you don't know, and we're going to play some songs that hopefully help you make you into a better person. And if you can share some of that with me, then please do. So he had some moments where he kind of broke down some stories throughout the performance. He had a mini acoustic set where he played just himself solo for a couple of songs. One of those songs was "The Eyes of Portland," which is one that hasn't been released yet. And he told this story about this girl that he met, and she was just really sad. And he was talking to her, and she's like, she told him she wanted to go home, and I think they may have been near the bus station or something, but he offered to buy her a bus ticket or a train ticket home. He didn't know what that meant, if that was a couple miles away or what. And apparently it was like 500 miles away, but he still offered to buy her a train ticket. And she said that they didn't want her at home, which, really hit him in the heartstrings. And he's like, okay, can I give you some money? Can I help you in any way? And so she asked him at that point, do I need to suck your dick? And of course, they got a laugh from the audience. And John said, no. And that put him off a little bit to even hear that. And he gave her some money, which she quickly snatched, and then said, haha, I don't have to have sex with a stranger tonight. And I can eat without having sex with a stranger. So, she went off her way, and that left John thinking for a couple of years about that interaction. And he wrote this song about it called "The Eyes of Portland." So I'm excited, for that to come out on, I think, John's upcoming album that he has. He also did Jack and Diane, which was one of his hits, right? And what was cool about that was, the audience starts singing along, and then John stops the set. Well, actually, before we get into Jack and Diane, I want to go back for a second, because I do want to play a clip of one of the earlier songs that John did in his set, which is "Minutes to Memories." So here's a clip for "Minutes to Memories" by John Mellencamp.
On a Greyhound, 30 miles down Texas.
That was Minutes to Memories here on Concert Pipeline. We'll continue on. Again, I was sharing stories about John Mellencamp's set. Being a moderate John Mellencamp fan, of course, I have a real appreciation for classic rock. That's kind of in my foundation, in my wheelhouse. It's something I dove into a lot as I was growing up. Music that just, some of it was before my time, or as I grew up, which is now absolutely classic rock. I talk about it with Dani in the interview we're about to get into in just a few minutes from Megafauna, about how the '90s music is classic rock, but John Mellencamp definitely classic rock, right? And so Jack and Diane is one of those songs that it's like. It's one of these feel-good songs, and then I had this moment where yesterday where my son was doing a Peloton ride. He does these little short Peloton rides, and I was showing him, hey, tomorrow morning I'm going to do a 45-minute classic rock ride, and this song is on it, Jack and Diane. And I showed him in the playlist, and 45-minute rides are very hard for me because I push really, really hard. I push myself hard, and I need to pace myself more. And so I make myself pace myself a little more than I'm used to on the 45-minute rides, but still murder. It's murder. And I showed him that Jack and Diane was there, and I'm like, this is what I'm seeing tonight. And I'm going to do this song, play this ride tomorrow with this song in it. You want to hear the song? And so I play the song, and there's lyrics in it. And I'm looking at the lyrics. I'm like, oh, okay. This isn't made for a 9-year-old, really. It's over his head, but it's very, it's a little cringy for a 9-year-old. Let's just say that. It's a great song, and it's one of those that's been around forever. But sometimes you don't really pick up on the lyrics of songs and what they mean. And I want to play a little clip of his performance of Jack and Diane, because the audience starts singing along. And well, I'll let the clip speak to what happened.
Gonna be Diane's debutante backseat of Jackie's car. No. Okay, here we go. You guys obviously missed in English class songwriting 101 while you were watching that clock. Here's the way songs work. There's a verse, then there's a chorus, then there's a verse, then there's a chorus, then there's a bridge. That's basically all the fuck there is to songwriting. Not a lot to it. But in this song, we fool you, we do 2 verses and then the chorus. You guys jumped straight over the second verse. It took me a long time at 25 to write the second verse. Even though it's kind of silly, I'm gonna still sing it. Sucking on chili dog, outside the taste of freeze. Diane sitting on Jackie's lap, got his hands in the knees. Jackie said Diane's run off behind shady trees. Dribble off those Bobby Brooks, girl, and do it out.
Okay, so as we saw from the clip, he paused the song and was like, okay, this is how we do it here. Okay, so we're gonna pick back up and move forward with this song, and it was great, right? It was a great piece of the show, because it means he wasn't precious about it. And this is a show where not everybody's not standing the whole time; they're seated. But then they get up at the high points of the set. So there's some sitting, there's some getting up, and everybody pretty much did it as a group, really, right? Made the decision, okay, this is a song we stand up for, and we rock out to a little bit. And we know the song. Some people pull out their phones and record, the songs that they like, right? But not everybody has their phone out or anything. And it was just one of those moments that was like, hey, he's not precious about this song, and he's okay stopping it and then picking it back up and moving forward. So I thought that was really cool. He continued on his set. There was a Joanne Woodward spoken word moment where it was a very personal moment for John Mellencamp, where Joanne Woodward, the widowed wife of Paul Newman, um, he had her speak one of his songs. I always lie to strangers, or I'm sorry, it was the real life. No, it was the real life. Um, and uh, and that was pretty powerful too, because this was recorded speaking of it, and Joan Woodward hasn't spoken a word after for over 10 years, is what he shared. And he had his accordionist and his violinist out to play music behind this the spoken word track. Just them, not even him out on stage, and I thought that was really cool. So the set continued on. Again, it was a 20-song set, and it ended with "Hurt So Good," which is arguably my favorite John Mellencamp song. So really, really cool set. And I was able to hop in my car, get back home, but about an hour, which is great. Made it home. I take a Monster in my car, a Monster energy drink, and I carry it in case I feel like I'm going to fall asleep. So I have some caffeine in my body, because I don't drink energy drinks, but I carry the same one around for whenever I have concerts or I'm out late or something, and carry it just in case. And so then it goes back in the fridge afterwards, and it's one of those things that's like, okay, it's there if I need it, right? So really cool set. Thank you to John Mellencamp's team for helping set it up and make it happen. I really enjoyed the show and getting out and seeing a live gig. And John Mellencamp is kicking on, right? So kudos to him as well. All right. That takes us to my band interview for the program today, which, as I said, was Megafauna. Megafauna has a new album that's coming out on April 28th called Olympico. And we get into talking about that album, some of the songs in that album, and Dani's history in music. So let's go ahead and bring Dani in on the program.
Hey.
Hey, Dani, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Sorry I'm late.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine. No, I appreciate you taking the time.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. It's St. Patrick's Day. Do you do anything special for St. Patrick's Day? Do you have any plans?
I'm wearing green pants.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going out to the movies later, and then I think I'm gonna see White Denim tonight.
Okay.
In Austin. So yeah, the band. So but yeah, I used to like go drink all day and stuff, but I'm not doing that this year. What about you?
Yeah. I have 2 kids, and
Yeah.
I don't have any plans. Nothing crazy. I might have a virtual beer with a friend later. Things are going to get really rowdy, So
Right.
no, but I also don't have South by Southwest in my backyard either. So, like, tell me. I mean, are you doing a lot of stuff for South by? Like,
We're like, in past years we've been around since 2008, and in the past we'll do like 12 shows for South by, but like for some reason this year we got asked to do a couple things, and we just like didn't do anything. We kind of dropped the ball. But I went to a fun show Sunday with Bright Light Social Hour and this band Show Sauvage from Montreal. That was like, it was a really good show. So, and then I'm going to go to the show tonight. So I have a kid too. I have a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. How's that been? That's your first, right?
Yeah, that's my first. It's been good. It's been the wildest ride of all, for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, having a kid during the pandemic also probably brings its own different challenges. I mean, like, was that easier? Was that more difficult for you?
Well, in a way it was easier because like I didn't have any FOMO. I wasn't like, oh, I'm not going to go to the show because I'm pregnant, or I can't play this show because I'm, 8 months pregnant. So yeah, it was a good time to just like hole up at the house and hang out and work on writing music and stuff. So the timing of it was pretty good. We were pretty lax about like COVID. We weren't like really, super too paranoid about it, but
yeah, you weren't over the crazy
outside and stuff.
Yeah, you did some outside practices, and
we did outside practices.
I saw some of that. Yeah,
saw some of that.
Yeah, I saw on your Instagram. You had pictures like we're distance, but we're still getting together and doing our thing, right? So
exactly, yeah. Our buddy has like a outside stage down in Onion Creek, like south. Remind me, where are you?
I'm in the Bay Area in California.
Oh, that's so rad. Cool.
Yeah, yeah. And you've played out this way.
Yes.
I'm trying to remember where you played. You played Hotel Utah, is that right?
We've played Hotel
Yes, yes.
Utah. Yeah, we've played Bottom of the Hill.
Okay.
That was awesome. And then we opened for that band Mineral there.
Uh-huh.
And then we played at Amnesia. And where else have we played? Oh, oh my gosh, Stork Club in Oakland, Stork Club,
Okay. I don't know
and
if I've been there. I don't know if I've been to that one.
Nightlight in Oakland, and God,
Yeah.
anyway, bunch of just a few, few places.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I wanted to just because you mentioned Austin early, I wanted to kind of ask you if you've been to Gordo's.
I have been to Gordo's.
Okay,
It's
okay.
great. Yeah, it's that I'm trying to think, what did I get? I don't remember. A sandwich on it. It's a sandwich on a donut, right?
Yeah, yeah, burger, yeah,
Or burger. Yeah, it's intense, but it's definitely worth a visit.
yeah. It's been a couple years since I've been to Austin, but I ended up there somehow once, and had this great burger on it with guacamole and bacon on a donut with beer and some chips on the side. And I'm like, oh my God, this is the meal, right? That I
Yes,
need to die with. And
that's
then
so good.
it's funny, I ended up there another time, and I was downtown down by the Colorado River, and I think I kayaked down there or something, and I searched Gordo's in my phone, and was like, and so I found it, but it was the Gordo's like truck, like
Oh yeah, yeah.
the trailer, and they didn't have the burger, and so I'd walked over there, and so then I just like I ran back down to where my car was parked down by the Colorado River, and then drove to the other one because I had to
That's
have that. So
that's commitment. I
uh,
understand that. Yeah, I've done stuff like that with food for sure. Yeah.
yeah, what's your go-to?
I eat tacos a lot. Yeah, I have tacos like sometimes like 3 meals a day. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's just
it's
so
not just
good.
Taco Tuesday, it's taco breakfast, taco.
It's taco all
Well,
the time. Yeah. Breakfast
well,
tacos
also
like most days.
that's the thing. Also, often, right, with the breakfast tacos, we don't have those here in the Bay Area. I mean, you can make it, but they don't. You don't find places
Yeah. I
that sell
don't know why
breakfast
it
tacos
hasn't
like that.
caught on yet there.
Yeah,
Maybe that's the new frontier. Everyone should be going into like breakfast taco business out there.
we need to make it happen, right? You can make a
Yeah.
killing. So yeah,
Seriously. Do y'all have breakfast burritos out there?
we have breakfast burritos. Yeah, so
That's overwhelming. It's like, who
it's
wants to eat a whole burrito
they're all
first? You know?
exactly. You're like, okay, that's an end of the meal sort of like
Yeah,
venture, right? I mean, end of the day venture, not a
exactly.
yeah, you not feel like you have to work it off all day or anything.
Yeah,
So
it's too
yeah.
heavy. You guys, I have had a California burrito before, and because I thought it would be
With the
healthy.
fries in it, and
And it was
yeah,
like
yeah.
fries and maybe mayo.
I
Is
don't
that
know. It
right?
depends on where you get it.
Maybe not.
I
No,
don't know.
sour cream,
So probably some
fries.
sour cream
Yeah,
and yeah, all the stuff with fries in there too. So extra
yeah.
greasy and yeah,
It
it's
was good.
yeah. Um, so there's a lot I want to talk about with your new album. And I went back and listened to some of your old stuff too. And so we'll get into some of that. I guess tell me kind of about making your first album. What was that process like for you?
Yeah,
It's
so that
Larger Than Human was the first one, right?
Larger Than Human, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So that album, it was Will who I met him on Craigslist. I just moved to town in 2008 and like put an ad up, and so it was Will and me and Cameron. So we were a three-piece back then. But our idea with that album was just to like record at as many studios as we could
Hmm.
to kind of try them out and see which ones we liked. So we did like Cacophony recorders with Eric Wofford, who did Passover, the Black Angels album.
Okay.
And we did like The Bubble with Alex Lyons, and we did a couple other ones too. But yeah, it was really fun. I liked those songs. Those songs had been brewing for a while. Like a lot of them I had written when I was living in New York, like a couple years before that album. And it's kind of like our proggiest album, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. It's pretty proggy. That's a good way for it. Like yeah,
It's pretty,
good word
yeah.
for it. And so holding on to those songs, were you like were you building intentionally for that album? Like you're like, okay, we're putting all this together. We're gonna go in and we're gonna make this full length album. Did it feel pretty natural for you?
Yeah. Yeah, we were, wait, I'm sorry, what was your question? Yeah, we were
Yeah.
planning to
Yeah.
do it
Okay.
like that. That was kind of our intention with it. And I think it's one of our longest albums too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so did you have any other bands before this, or was this your first kind of venture into
I
music?
did. Yeah, I did have bands. Yeah. So let's see. In college, I had Common Response. Um, and that was fun. We'd like play in the city because I went to school at Yale in New Haven, and we'd like, drive into New York City and play there, or we play around New Haven. And then I lived in New York for 2 years and was in like a bunch of bands. So I started a band there called Local Melons. And
Okay.
we played some of those songs that are on the Larger Than Human album, like the early Megafauna stuff. Local Melons played as well. And then I was in like a band, Kiss or Kill. And I did this weird show that was like a metal show, and I'd be like a plant in the audience, and I'd raise my hand. They'd be like, can anyone play guitar? And I'd raise my hand and they'd call me up there. And I did that song by Black Sabbath. I can't remember the name of it right now.
War Pigs or
Yeah, I think,
yeah.
yeah. Da, da, da,
Da,
da.
da, 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 da. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. And so so that was planted. It was like what was the effect of that? Like how did that turn out?
Everyone was like, whoa. It was weird. It was one of those like, it's really it's foggy, man. It was a while ago. It was like 18 years ago or whatever. But yeah, it was one of those like play meets rock shows. It was at a bar, and it had a run for a few weeks. It was random thing I did. It was
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, that is pretty random, but that's cool. And so what did you learn kind of from those early bands that you had that you were able to take into Megafauna?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. Good
It's a
question.
deep question, I know, right?
Uh, that I love playing music. Well, I learned that like I like playing in other people's bands, but I guess I prefer the process of like writing music,
Yeah,
and I love being a part of that. So yeah, I maybe I learned that I want to be kind of the front. I like being the front person or one of the front people rather
sure.
than like a side character, and that like I like playing. I don't know. I do like playing covers, but it doesn't like speak to my soul in the same way as working on my own stuff.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
that's. And also
yes.
learn that it's easier to be in a band not in New York City because you don't have to like take the train with your gear, which sucks.
I'm sure that's a mess, right? Like just having to,
Yeah,
oof.
it's
Yeah,
intense.
yeah. New York's also, I mean, yeah, I can only imagine that. I've been to New York in August, and just where it's just must be gross, and you're in the subway, and you're like, and
Ah,
imagine lugging your gear through. I can't. Nope.
yeah,
Not.
it's intense.
Yeah.
And it was a cool time to be in the city though. It was like early 2000s, it was like 2007, 6 and 7, and there was a scene there, felt like.
Yeah. What inspired your move from Brooklyn to Austin?
Um oh man, that's a long there was a breakup involved. I was like, oh, I need to leave town. I ended up going to law school. I got into UT Law School.
Yeah.
Um, so that was, and then I just heard, I was kind of tired of New York City. Like there's something that, I don't know, like this coldness. I just wanted to be around like nice people, and I just wanted life to be easier, like jump in your car and drive to the gig. Um, and then in law school. So yeah, it was kind of a convergence of factors.
Yeah. Sometimes life makes those decisions for you, makes it really easy,
Yeah,
right? When
exactly.
things
And
line
then,
up. So,
yes, totally. And then I've just been here ever since. So
yeah. And I mean, you're in a great town for music for sure, right? I mean, we talked
yeah,
about South by, but you have so many festivals also, such a great music scene. And I mean, that's the place, right? So,
totally, totally. It's so fun too. And at this point you kind of know a lot. I know a lot of people in the scene, and it's good.
yeah. What music did you grow up on, and like what was the vibe in your house with like your parents, and like what were they listening to when you were a kid?
My dad he plays guitar too, and he collects guitars, and he is and was obsessed with blues. So like all kinds of blues we listen to. Yeah, like Skip James, Robert Johnson, Albert King, Albert Collins, Freddie King, Stevie Ray Vaughan, who else? Oh my God, a lot of people.
All the
All of
blues
them. Buddy
legends,
Guy,
yeah.
we saw Buddy Guy, like my parents and I growing up. And then he'd play like some classic rock, like Creedence Clearwater. My mom listened to the oldies station, which was like actually, oldies back then from like the 50s. Now it's probably 90s.
Right. Yeah, that 90s is oldies at this point. Yeah, as we get
Yeah.
older.
And then I got into, I think the first like tape I had was Billy Joel, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I
Yeah.
got into like Jagged Little Pill, that
Yes.
album. Yeah, that was kind of and like Dookie.
Yeah.
Those were kind of like the first ones. And then I got into more like Nirvana, Soundgarden, Stone Temple Pilots.
Yeah.
All those, yeah.
Yeah, Jagged Little Pill was a big one for me. Like that was eighth grade for me, and when I was away at a boarding school, and it got me through some of these hard times, or I don't know, in some manner. And I met Alanis once, and like I told her, I told her I was like, that album got me through some tough times,
Yeah, it's a really good album. Where did you meet Alanis?
In San Francisco at a radio station show, actually. It was a really small thing, like 20 people, and so I was like 4 feet away from her, and and I've seen her play a handful of times at that, back in the early 2000s, right? But she did for like 4 songs at that show, but even that, she performed like she was performing to like 20,000 people, right? Like, bouncing off the walls and everything. It was pretty incredible.
Oh, that's amazing. That's inspiring.
Yeah. It was a cool moment. You don't get those sort of things too often. So
No, you don't. That's so cool.
yeah. Do you remember your first concert?
Oh man. I think it was Blink 182 at like Roseland Ballroom. My first like bigger concert. I was 16, but I had been to like smaller, like my guitar teacher played in a blues band called Triple Threat Blues Band, and I'd go to like their shows around Connecticut, like Black Rock Saloon, little bars and stuff. But in terms of like a big rock show, was Blink 182, and then it was Stone Temple Pilots on 420.
Oh wow. Okay.
That was awesome. That was probably like sophomore year of high school. And oh my God, Scott Weiland, he was like shirtless and just like insane. He was a fucking amazing. Oh, sorry, I don't know.
No, go for it. Yeah,
he was amazing. I think STP is really underrated.
Yeah,
even though
I never got to see them back in the day. I saw Stone Temple Pilots when it was Chester Bennington took over.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, not really the same necessarily. No. And I saw Scott Weiland went at the end, like
with the Wildabouts.
Wildabouts, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Played a festival and was like using 2 megaphones, and I'm like, this is sad, But,
yeah. Did you see the Velvet Revolver at all?
I never got to see Velvet live. No.
Yeah, neither. Yeah.
No, that would be cool though. But I saw Guns N' Roses a couple years ago. And
cool.
Axl's voice is shot, but they still got the presence, like seeing that was my first time seeing them as Guns N' Roses, like not I saw them with Chinese Democracy Tour, and that was just Axl and other guys, right? But as the band, it was awesome. And they, the Foo Fighters were playing the festival the next day, and so they brought Dave Grohl out at the end to play Paradise City with them, and
oh my God.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Actually, I shot video of it, and Rolling Stone used it.
Really?
Yeah.
That's badass.
That's kind of one of my biggest accomplishments, because it's just
that's
like
a huge accomplishment.
Growing up on Rolling Stone, like in magazine and everything, and just seeing. I didn't know they were using it at all, but but they took my video, and it was pretty cool. So
that's really rad.
Yeah. Yeah. So you picked up a guitar at age 10, and you knew kind of from there, did it feel pretty comfortable? You knew, and kind of seeing those first shows that you went to, is that kind of what got
Yes.
you into wanting to be in bands?
Yeah, I was like, oh, this is, I kind of wanted to be Kurt Cobain for a while.
Yeah.
Way, you know? Um, but yeah, I started on violin actually, and then I hated using the bow. I just wanted to pluck it. So my parents were like, "Oh, you should do good." So I would sit in with my dad, in with him on with his guitar lessons. So yeah, I knew it clicked. Like first song I learned was "Smokestack Lightning" by Howling Wolf. That riff, you know, it's like dun, 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 the same riff that Susie Q, the Queen of Clearwater song, Susie Q.
Yeah. Did you
I
teach
learned it.
yourself, or?
No, I at my Chris Cass, he's awesome. He's a wonderful guitar player. So he was our teacher. And he taught it, he like tabbed it out. So I started on like tab, just like he would tab out like, you know, like Stairway to Heaven solo, and I'd learn it. So yeah, I started in a weird way, kind of learning like minor pentatonic blues stuff and solos instead of starting with chords and like theory. So my theory is still kind of like not that great.
You know, a lot of people kind of figure it out and just work
Yeah.
with it, right? You know, I mean, like Dave Grohl's infamous for, you know, like he never learned, you know, like he never learned to read music or anything, right? So
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of people like that. So that's just kind of like, you know, I got this.
Yeah. Ear it
Yeah,
out.
yeah. So you talked about Zach and Will kind of joining the band there. When did
Or
Winston
that
join
was
the band?
Cameron. Oh, sorry.
Oh,
So
Cameron. It was.
that was our first drummer, Cameron, back in
Oh,
2000.
okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So when did Zach and Winston join, and kind of how did that come?
So Zach joined in 2012. I Gossip was dating Will and Will and I dated for a year and a half or so. Me and our bass player. And then we broke up, and then he quit the band. And then Cameron also quit. So in 2012, it was just me. And we had like a ton of, this was a year that we had a bunch of like, we had like some buzz and had like a lot of South by shows, probably I think like 11 or 12. So Zach was a friend of mine who I met through a friend in law school. And anyway, he played with some people. He was from anyway, it's a long story. But so he joined the band. He like learned all our songs somehow and jumped on. And then Greg Yancey joined the band at that point. Do you know of Opposite Day, the band?
No, I don't think I've heard of them.
They're amazing.
Yeah.
They're really good. They're proggier than we are. They're all like virtuosos. And actually our first drummer now, Cameron, now plays with Opposite Day. But anyway, so yeah, we just started with in 2012, Greg and Zach joined the band, and then Winston joined the band in I think 2016. We were like, we'd like to add some more texture and like add a second guitar and some synth, and I think he's awesome at all that. I love our current lineup. So then Will rejoined the band in 2015 or something like that. Yeah. And then we had another bass player, or two other bass players in there as well. So yeah, but this current lineup's been around for like 7 years.
Yeah, that's pretty solid. I think you got a good stature for moving forward, right? So
yeah.
Yeah. And so let's talk about the new album, right? Olympico, excuse me. And so first off, the first song on the album is Sunday Saturday is really, really great. I really dig it, and it's catchy too. Tell me kind of how that came about.
Oh my God, that was one of those doozies to write. It was just, I loved that riff, like, I don't know how I came up with that. I really can't remember. It was, I recorded it. I do this thing where I just like record a ton of voice memos. And then kind of, my process is it's pretty non-linear. That's a positive way of putting it. It takes a while, and yeah, so anyway, but that song took a really long time to figure out the structure. We would practice it in rehearsal certain ways, and then like I'd record it and then put it into GarageBand and like Frankenstein different orders together. And then eventually figured out, oh, okay, this order makes sense, I think. But it took like a couple years, I want to say.
And when you Frankenstein it in GarageBand, you put it together and you're like, okay, this is good. Is it challenging to go back and actually play it, kind of pulling it from GarageBand and actually reproducing it live?
Um, not too bad. It wasn't too bad. Like none of the songs, yeah, it wasn't too bad to do that because I'd been playing those riffs for like a year and a half at that point.
Yeah.
So I was familiar with the riffs. So and I'm good at like I'm actually I'm pretty good. I think all of us are pretty good at being like, hey, what if you put the B part there and we can kind of remember it and and do it, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And you worked with Charles.
Question.
No, no, you did. You're good. uh, and you worked with Charles Godfrey on this album, right?
Yeah, Charles is an amazing person. Do you know him or?
Not a lot, but I seen some of the credits that he's done. I mean, it seems like he's got a good history. And so, tell me kind of about working with him and what he brought to to the band,
Oh my
to the
gosh. I
process.
mean, he's just really he's really chill. He's really laid back, which works well with us. I'm kind of a nervous person. And so he quelled my nerves. He was really into just like being patient and like finding the right take. But also not like he kind of strikes that balance between like overdoing it and playing too many takes and not doing it enough. He I don't know. What else about Charles? Yeah, he was just good at inspiring us to play well and to do what the song needed. He's all about like serving the song, which is cool. And he's really good at getting like us to sound really big. I feel like with all of our recording attempts, we always want to sound like Megafauna, massive animals, we want to sound
Yeah.
massive. And he's like, we double guitars. He was good at getting good vocal performances from me as well, like kind of more heartfelt. It would just be he and I recording vocals in a dark room so that I'd really you know find the meaning of the lyrics from within. He even helped me write some lyrics and like come up with some melodies like on Bipostal. That song's not
Yeah.
even out yet, but yeah.
It's okay. Yeah. You can talk about it.
Yeah, this melody at the end that's kind of like Queens of the Stone Age inspired. He came up with it. I almost forgot that, but yeah. And I'm like, "Do you want a writing credit?" He's like, "No, no, no. It's cool, man." But he's just great to work with. He goes really late. He's down to like leave at 10 p.m. if you want. And I was recently postpartum at this point, so it was kind of a what, because I wrote these songs and we collaborated on these songs too, like me and the band. But yeah, we wrote them like throughout the pandemic, and then like for me throughout the pregnancy and like the early days of having a baby. And so it was just like a really kind of intense time. So to have someone that supportive and laid back was really dope. And we'll talk about society and the imminent collapse, and he likes to go out there too. He's fun.
Light
He's
topics, right? So yeah.
Yeah, he's awesome. I love. And that place, Mosaic Sound Collective, where his studio has since closed down.
Oh,
Just
really?
sad.
Yeah, that sucks. That
Yeah,
sucks.
it was really weird, cool space.
Yeah. Did you find that like your style of writing or the content that you wrote about was, different than in the past because of where you were at kind of in your life with having a baby and everything?
Oh my gosh, that's such a good question. Mm, I think everything took a little bit longer. I had less free time, so but in a way, I think that made this. I think these are some of the strongest songs on this album. Like
Yeah.
we were kind of choosier about the structure and like cutting parts out, and I don't know. Yeah, I think the fact that they took more time was good, because when you have a kid, you just don't have much free time.
I do know. I do know about that.
So it's
Yeah.
kind of like 2 years instead of one or something.
Right. And Dozier, Winston wrote Dozier, right? And
Yes.
and that was a different kind of approach for you because usually
Yeah.
you had just written everything, primarily
Yes.
yourself. But
Primarily, yeah. Like, this is probably the most collaborative album that we've recorded. And yeah, Winston and we were all living together. It was really fun at the beginning of the pandemic. It was like Winston, Will, and I, and we were like partying and playing music. It was, and then I got pregnant shortly after, but it was a really fun time. Actually, which feels wrong to say, but it was fun stand up.
Look,
But
there's darknesses, but there is also an opportunity to kind of learn and grow and to kind of challenge yourself in different ways, right? It didn't,
yes,
the pandemic didn't have to be all bad, right? So
exactly, totally. And we like, we had my laptop from, not laptop, my desktop from like the early 2000s set up, and Winston does sound engineering and everything, and he's a, Winston's awesome. He recorded, he wrote Dozer and then sent it to me, and I figured out the melody with the help of Charles, kind of like years. It took a year or so to come up with that melody and lyrics.
yeah. Tell me about finding your voice. Like, how have you found your voice musically? Like, I mean, because you have a kind of a unique, what I think is kind of a unique voice, and from what I hear in a lot of music.
Thank you. Do you mean like perspective generally, or like my singing voice, or?
Perspective, tone, kind of reaching the levels that you do also?
Oh my gosh, these are such good questions that I should think about more, spend more time thinking about. But okay, let's see. I don't know, just experimenting, really. I just love I don't know. I listen to the music that I love, and then want to play stuff that sounds like that.
Yeah.
And listening to singers that are really like raw and emotionally vulnerable. I strive for that in terms of singing, like Beth Gibbons from Portishead, or Bjork.
Yeah.
But yeah, with guitar, I have a wide range of kind of strange influences, because you have like the grunge, and then you have like blues, and then Radiohead and stuff like that. So I guess, how have I found my voice? I don't really know the answer to that. I think just by doing it for such a long time. Yeah, I'm not the most self-aware of like my creative process, I guess.
But one thing that's pretty interesting in terms of your process, like you like to write in the van. I've talked to a lot of bands, and a lot of them don't find success in writing on tour or in the van or anything like that. They need to have like an actual spot. Like, tell me about how that works out for you.
Yeah, for me, that's more lyrics for writing in
Mhm.
the van. Like I love tour, because I love the feeling of being free and flowing from city to city, and you're with your family. My bandmates are like my family. I do miss tour. Tour is so fun. And then I just feel like there are no, just in the van, there's like nothing else to do, really. You listen to music and you can write, smoke some weed and write, and like look at what's going on outside of you. And it's just like a really free place for me to be traveling like that. So I feel like the words, and you're always experiencing new things, so there's more to write about than just like you're less caught in your own patterns and like weird issues. When you're home, you can kind of be like paralyzed or like blocking yourself, but when you're on tour, you're just like, you feel like you're in flow. You're kind of just living your truth. But it is hard to write actual like, oh, but that's not true. I will record guitar parts in the band sometimes. Like, I'll just be like, oh, this is a cool idea, and record it. And they don't, I mean, I have like hundreds of voice memos right now that aren't, part of songs that have been released or anything. I have to go through them. I've got a bunch of them to go through.
Yeah. Are you already ready to kind of start writing more, or does it stop for you when, did you put it on pause when you have an album coming out?
I like to always be writing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of naturally stops a bit. I feel like because this part of the process is more like public facing. You're doing all the emailing, you're figuring out shows and everything, you're answering questions, and yeah, you're more facing outward, versus whereas writing, you're like facing inward. But we have some songs that aren't done, but song ideas for the next album already. And yeah, we want to release the next one with less of a break.
Yeah. That's cool.
Between albums, yeah.
So speaking about tour, you played Burning Man.
Well, we didn't we didn't really play.
You didn't play it? We went to it at least.
Yeah, Will and I did jam. We jammed. Yeah.
Tell me about that experience. I've never been to a Burning Man, so I've talked to a couple bands about it sometimes, and it's always crazy.
Burning Man's amazing. Highly recommend everyone go to Burning Man. You just have to be in the right camp. Like, so the first, it's just, it's a testament to human achievement, just seeing what people can do out in the desert. And it really makes you proud to be human. I don't know. It got me really excited about life, and I'm due to go back actually. The first year we played a show in Reno, and we had tickets to go. Cameron ended up not going, our drummer. And then we had nowhere, we didn't really realize what we were getting into at all. Like that you should be it's very important to plan ahead, you guys, for Burning Man. You should be a part of a camp. And like, we were just like, well, these random dudes in this band said we could camp with them. So we showed up with like a bunch of granola bars, and we're like, we're ready to party, you know?
That's all you had, your granola bars, and you were like, we're set, right?
Yeah. And we didn't last that long, really, that time. But it's just beautiful, and you're biking across the desert, the sun's setting, there's all these amazing, there's like a bus covered in fur, and you can just like jump on, there's music playing, and then there's like opium dens, that seem like opium dens, with like carpeting. You'll feel like you're inside someone's living room, but you're in the desert. And everyone's really weird and cool, and there's all these like classes you can take, and you can do like circus arts, and there's all these games you can play there's a lot of drinking. I didn't really realize, I thought it would be more like exclusively drugs and stuff, but there was drinking in bars. Like it kind of, there's a big bar culture there. People will make their own bars, and there's dance parties all night, and it's very cool. It's a good time. And then I went back with Zach actually years later, to stay with like a person that we had met in Utah on tour, and then we did it right. Like they hooked us up with like steak and like really good gear. They had a Hexa with AC, and so I think it's, for me especially, at my ripe old age of 27, no, just kidding, it's important to have like AC and food, like actual food that's not just like granola bars. So I think planning ahead is key for Burning Man. And you got to bring wipes and like just to wipe your body, because
it's super gross, sweaty, and
you should go. You should take your kiddos. Y'all should go.
Is that something you can bring kids to?
People do. Yeah, there's some kids there.
Okay. I'll give it a thought. I mean, it's something like, I feel like that part of my life, like I missed out on. I had kids fairly young. My daughter's turning 13 soon, and my son's 9, and so
that's so cool.
Yeah, it's fun. I'll tell you, when they get up, enjoy it right now, because you're at that point where they don't talk back, and there's none of that, But
he talks back though.
Oh yeah, you're like, I'm already getting it. Yeah. But yeah, they're at that age, so it's like I don't know what I can do with them and what I can't yet,
Right, totally. So they're like teenagers. Well, especially you're 13. Yeah, she's a teenager. Crazy.
Oh, I feel it. Yeah, exactly. It's and all the emotions that go along with it and everything, and I'm like, teenage girl, got it. Okay, yeah.
Are you trying to like flood their brains with good music now while they're sensitive to, I feel like they say when you're a kid you develop your taste in music or something.
I try. They are interested in what I want to listen to, but what's funny is sometimes. So last week, for example, my son, he likes Puss in Boots, right? And so he was playing the Puss in Boots soundtrack on the HomePod, and then he saw this one come up on the Apple TV, and he's like, "Dad, have you?" He likes to ask these questions. "Dad, have you interviewed Dan Navarro?" And I'm like, yeah, I interviewed him like 2 months ago, actually, like originally. I'm like, so I got some credit with my son for that,
That's so cool. I love that.
And I just showed him a minute of the interview and the song that he played, for the podcast and whatever. But I mean, and then Shrek with Smash Mouth, and I'm like, yeah, I've interviewed them, and and so sometimes I get credit with him. My daughter doesn't have any interest in my music at all, but I might be able to break through with my son.
That's great. Yeah. And she'll probably discover bands you like on her own, and then feel like it's her own.
We've had a little bit of crossover here and there, but I don't know,
Okay.
she's just not super into music like I am. You know, my son is into different stuff a little bit more. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
kind of I know, I hope my son's into music. I think he already like plays the drums sometimes, when they're
Is he
set.
okay?
He'll like mess around on them a little. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're gonna like teach him guitar when is that gonna? I know it's early, but I mean,
Definitely.
yeah.
He already has two toy guitars. So
Nice.
yeah.
Okay.
Um
Yeah. Yeah. So he'll have a lot of influence around him
yeah.
to get there and jam, and maybe one day be in the band, right? So
That would be so amazing.
yeah,
That would
wouldn't
be
that be
awesome.
cool? Like, going on tour with your kid and
Dude,
teaching them on the road, homeschooling, right? I
I'll
love it.
be like 50 something though. That's okay.
That's okay. Come on,
Yeah.
it
He'll
can
be
work.
like when he's yeah, anyway.
Yeah,
Make it
yeah,
work. Yeah, we'll make it work.
yeah. So you have some shows around Texas lined up. Do you have any other plans for touring beyond that? I know it's hard with all the moving pieces and
Yeah.
everything.
We're gonna try to do a fly out to like New York City and Providence and Boston this summer at the
Yeah,
end of July, and we're gonna apply to more festivals and stuff.
yeah.
So we're doing Boise next week. You probably saw that for Tree Fort Fest.
Oh yeah, yeah. I did see that. Yeah, you're coming up for that. Yeah,
Yeah, in Seattle. Oh, it would have been awesome if we hit San Francisco as part of that. But yeah, so yeah, we're keeping it going. We my Birch's dad and I aren't together, so
Mhm.
we it works with co-parenting to like take 6 days off and go tour.
Yeah, yeah. I kind of have that same sort of situation. I mean, not to tour, but I mean, with co-parenting and
Yeah,
and we're really flexible with all of that. So it's
yeah,
I mean, with whatever, it's like okay, I got a show or I got this going on. Okay, cool. We make it work.
yeah.
So yeah,
Co-parenting's kind of awesome.
yeah, get along better now than we did at the end. I'll tell you that. So
Exactly. Yeah. Totally.
yeah, yeah. So, well, Danny, I mean, congratulations on the album. I know
Thank
you're excited
you.
for it to come out on April 28th, right?
Yeah, April 28th. I can mail you
Yeah.
a copy if yeah.
Oh, I've been listening to it. So,
Okay, cool. Oh yeah, you
yeah,
have it digitally.
yeah. I've been hearing it. So, that I miss the days of CDs and physical media and everything. I never really got into vinyl.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I never had that phase, but CDs, I mean, I've been interviewing bands for like 20 years and,
Wow.
and so I'd always, I'd buy the band CD or get a promo copy or whatever, and then I'd bring it to the show and get them to sign it. So I have like a couple hundred CDs of, signed CDs from
Yeah.
bands and stuff. And,
Oh,
uh,
awesome.
yeah, that kind of time is, past though. It's kind of a bummer.
I know, although that's what I was thinking. Someone recently was like, well, CDs are coming back. So I'm
Where do you
like,
play them? I'm like, I have a
I
CD player
know,
in my car. I do have one, but that's the only place I can even play one now. I mean,
right.
I guess I'll put it in the DVD player, I guess on the TV, but it's just,
I know. It's weird how quickly they got phased out.
yeah, yeah,
I love CDs.
yeah, I know. And
I like
something to holding the physical media and reading the liner notes and seeing, all the pictures and the artwork and everything and getting to appreciate it in that sense, right?
yeah, it really does matter.
Yeah,
I think they're gonna come back. I do.
it should. I mean, vinyl came back, so,
Yeah, exactly.
it can
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll bring it back. So,
Do you play music? I didn't really research you as much as I should. I sometimes like
oh
just
gosh, Danny, come on, where were you?
I like
No,
just
no, you're
going
fine.
into things blindly so I don't overthink
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, no, you're fine. No, I don't, and it's better that way, I think. So,
Maybe it's
like
like,
I've,
yeah, I don't know what he's gonna ask me about. Cool.
yeah, I've tried, I've tried, but I don't have the patience, too ADHD for it, sort of thing. Like exactly. So, but I love music and concerts, and
Yeah. Heck
talking to
yeah.
bands, hearing stories like yours and that sort of thing, right? So,
Thank you.
it's a lot of fun. So, yeah, I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, thanks for interviewing me. This was really fun.
That was my interview with Dani from Megafauna here on Concert Pipeline. And that takes us to the final segment on the program, the music news. have a couple of stories to wind out the show today, and what's going on in the music world. There's a lot of support for Meg White going on in the music world right now, and this is really interesting. So there was some drumming controversy with Meg White. A number of musicians have stepped up in response to a Twitter debate about her playing ability, which is really, really, really interesting to me because she's been out of the music scene for a number of years at this point. After the White Stripes broke up, she may have done a couple of things, but she's not active anymore. But the White Stripes were huge and obviously led Jack White into having a massive career with many other bands, the Rack-On tours, a solo career. I know there are other bands he was a part of, but they're not coming to me. But they formed in '97 and went on to become one of the most successful bands of the 21st century. What's interesting, before I get into the story, is I was just talking to my buddy Joe about the White Stripes, I think yesterday, not even knowing about this controversy, but he was he told me he was playing the White Stripes for his son. And I said, wow, that's really interesting to me, because you notoriously were not a White Stripes fan back in the day when they were huge. And we had gone to several shows, a radio station concert in San Francisco, and then also a festival in San Diego where the White Stripes were playing. And we were at their set, and we left before they came on stage even. So I haven't seen the White Stripes live, even though I've been at 2 shows that they performed at. Joe and I left, and this was like 20-ish years ago, of course. We left the shows early, before the White Stripes came on. I think Seven Nation Army really, at least personally, annoyed me back in the day because of how heavy in rotation it was. And the beat was just so simple, and it just didn't do a lot for me. But I can listen to it now and enjoy it a lot more. A journalist, Lachlan Marquet, tweeted, "The tragedy of the White Stripes is how great they would have been with a half-decent drummer. Yeah, I've heard but it's carefully crafted sound, man. I'm sorry, Meg White was terrible, and no band is better for having shitty percussion." He has since deleted the tweet. No surprise, but guess what? Once it's there, the internet doesn't forget. It's out on the internet, so a lot of people came to her defense, including Questlove from the Roots, Portishead's Geoff Bartow, a lot of other people. Jack White himself stepped in to celebrate the drummer, posted a picture of Meg at her drum kit on social media, along with a poem that read, "To be born in another time, any era but our own would have been fine. 100 years from now, 1,000 years from now, some other distant or a different time. One without demons, cowards and vampires, out for our blood. One with the positive inspiration to foster what is good." So there's a lengthier, the poem is a lot lengthier, so I won't read the whole thing, but among those offered the support of White was Karen Elson, the ex-wife of Jack White, who wrote on Twitter, "Not only is Meg White a fantastic drummer, Jack also said that the White Stripes would be nothing without her. To the journalist who dissed her, keep my ex-husband's ex-wife name out of your fucking mouth, please and thank you." Very well said. Very well said. I love it. Marquet since responded to the backlash, writing on Twitter, "It was an over-the-top take on TWS, the White Stripes, and White as a drummer, and was, let's face it, just truly awful in every way. Petty, obnoxious, just plain wrong." So, and he said, "By now you've probably seen an ill-advised and since deleted tweet I sent out yesterday about the White Stripes and Meg White." And so he somewhat corrected himself, but I guess he stood behind his comments. So he corrected himself in a nice way, but stood behind his comments. Tom Morello also calls Meg White one of rock and roll's greatest drummers. So he stepped up. Mandy Bushnell from the 12-year-old drummer from England who has had a relationship with the Foo Fighters in a lot of sense over the past couple of years. She played a video of her on playing a White Stripes, I believe it was Seven Nation Army, and said that Meg was her inspiration for drumming when she was 5. So that's really cool. Lots of support for Meg White. That's a big kickoff story. Okay. Uh, 21 Pilots covered Blink 182 as they filled in for the band at Lollapalooza, Argentina. Blink 182 had to pull out of the headline slot after Travis Barker suffered a finger injury. And so Blink were originally scheduled a headline. They pulled out last month, and 21 Pilots took to the reunited pop punk trio's place and on March 18th paid homage to the group. During their set, Tyler Joseph and Joss Dunn covered All the Small Things. And for the song's opening verse and chorus, Joseph let the crowd sing the words before joining in for them with the na 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 refrain. There's of course video of the performance you can find online as well. But they played some Blink 182, which is cool. Okay, and so let's see what else. Oh yeah, U2. They are pretty much everywhere right now. There's a documentary with them and David Letterman on Apple TV, not on Apple TV, on Disney Plus. And so you can check that out. I haven't gotten a chance to see it yet, but we'll probably get around to it at some point. I may have shared in the last episode or the one before that I was reading Bono's book, which is called Surrender. And I will surrender to the cost of the book, which it cost me $37 when my puppy chewed through the cover and when it was on the counter, the kitchen counter. So I now own a copy of Bono's Surrender. And while I was pushing to finish the book before I had to return it, now I have a little bit more time to get through reading his 40 stories, though. He does share some interesting stories from his youth and the kind of the building of the band, his relationship with his wife before she was his wife, things along that nature. So they are streaming their new album, Songs of Surrender, and in sync with this, there's some other performances out there as well. There's a Tiny Desk concert that you can check out. The Edge explains, music allows you to time travel, and we became curious to find out what it would be like to bring our early songs back to us with the present day and give them the benefit or otherwise of a 21st century reimagining. What started out as an experiment quickly developed into a personal obsession as so many of our songs yielded to a new interpretation. Intimacy replaced post-punk urgency. New tempos, new keys, and in some cases, new chords and new lyrics arrive. A great song, it turns out, is kind of indestructible. So he tells the story of kind of how this came about. I think a lot of it is Bono and the Edge. I think the other two in the band weren't really a part of this process. So you're going to see a lot of the Bono and the Edge around. Okay, and last story is an interesting story. I'm not sure how I feel about it, so we'll work through it a little bit. And that is that Robert Smith pushes Ticketmaster to give money back for unduly high prices for the Cure's U.S. tour. The band had previously promised fans affordable ticket prices through the system. That is a tall order to promise when you're talking about one of the biggest monopolies out there that controls everything in their field and doesn't give a fuck about the common man and their interest in seeing live music, right? They own the tickets, they own the ticketing services, they own the venues in a lot of cases where the shows are being played. So they're charging high prices and they're pretty much paying into themselves for fans to go to concerts, which makes it really, really expensive to see a show. And so Robert Smith from The Cure has revealed that after speaking to Ticketmaster regarding the unduly high prices for the band's upcoming US tour, the ticketing system will be issuing small refunds to verified ticket buyers. And so what he posted was, after further conversation, they've agreed with us that many of the fees being charged are unduly high. I'm sure Ticketmaster does agree with that, but they don't have an issue with it, right? Otherwise, they wouldn't be that high. They're not saying, oh, whoops, that was a little error on our part. We didn't mean to do that. No, they had to be called out by the artist directly. And as a gesture of goodwill, have offered a $10 per ticket refund to all verified fan accounts for lowest ticket prices transactions. So they're giving a couple of bucks back. There's some tickets that are getting $5 back, I think, and some getting 10, which is, it's something, I guess, right? It's something. But is it doing what we need to? Is it making a mark? or is it just going to annoy and piss off people? Like $10 is nice, but I think in terms of the percentage of the ticket fees that is, not a lot, right? So good on you, Robert, though. Good on you for sticking up for your fans and getting even a couple of bucks back so they can buy half a beer at the show, right? All right, that is our show for today. I want to thank Megafauna for being on the program, and I want to really hype up episode 400, which I'm really excited about. We're closing out episode 399 right now. This is it. This is the end of episode 399. The 300s are gone and behind us, and we are moving on to episode 400 next week, Monday, with a brand new episode with Andrew McMahon of The Wilderness and Jack's Mannequin and Something Corporate. My favorite bands, my favorite musician, along with my buddy Joe, brought him in. We had a great chat with Andrew, and it's just always great to catch up with Andrew, but also good to share that with my friend, which I love doing. And so it's a lot of fun, and it's not anything over the top. It's a fun episode where Joe and I hang out. We bring Andrew in for a bit. We hang out a little bit more, and we had a great time. Andrew McMahon has a new album that's coming out next Tuesday, and we'll talk about that with Andrew next week. But for all of us here at Concert Pipeline, I'm Steve Jones. We'll catch you next time.